Hello, fellow cryptocurrency and blockchain enthusiasts. Thank you for being here today and tuning in to our third vlog. My name is Edward Siafa. I'm a Senior Business Development Associate here at Stably and will be the host for today's interview. Today, we are going to have a talk with Mitchell Moos. Welcome, Mitch.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. Mitch is a highly respected and well-researched journalist for one of the space's leading crypto and blockchain news outlets, CryptoSlate.
I would agree with that, yeah.
I would hope so. It might be a little biased, but I mean, it's expected. Yes. So tell us some of your main interests in terms of cryptocurrency and blockchain.
My main interest in crypto and blockchain, well, my job is to cover the entire space. So basically my entire life is everything crypto and blockchain. But
Live and breathe.
I live and breathe.
Yeah.
For me personally, though, I'm not so interested in the financial side. Like we have people on our team that do technical analysis and trading and all that other stuff.
Right.
The price action, like that changes from the day to day. But
Right.
the stuff that I'm really interested in is like new technological developments. And I started out originally in crypto as a big-time cryptocurrency miner. So anything in the mining space or in terms of actually maintaining these networks from an infrastructure point of view, like
Right.
really gets me going.
Interesting. Wow. Very cool. Very cool. And what was the first coin that you mined?
The first coin that I mined was actually this little-known coin called Zencash. It's now been rebranded to Horizon. They got 51% attacked like 6 months ago.
Right.
But at the time, it was using Equihash, so the same mining algorithm that Zcash was running on.
Right.
And that's the same thing that made them vulnerable to that 51% attack, is that because they had the same algorithm as Zcash,
Right.
miners from the Zcash coin could move over to Zencash,
Right.
mine it, 51% attack, and move back to Zcash without any consequences.
Wow.
Yeah, so
the giant loophole or an area where it was an attack vector.
it was an attack vector, yeah. So from that, that's how I really started my first like serious startup was.
Right.
I ran a substantially sized mining operation, and that was set up right here in central Washington where power was super cheap. And
Kashmir?
Kashmir? No, that's the spot in between India and
No,
Pakistan.
Kashmir, Washington.
No, Sultan and Gold Bar.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because my cousin actually lives in Kashmir, and energy's a lot cheaper out there. So there's a giant, I think it's a Bitcoin mining facility out there. It's huge. It's like a warehouse. They have it set up.
Yeah, so at the point that I got in, this was maybe 2017-ish, like Bitcoin mining had already become pretty saturated, like it's a commodity at that point.
Right.
So we were mostly focused on GPU-based mining. And what me and 4 other founders, we got together and we were basically designing cryptocurrency mining algorithms for optimizing things. Because in the long run, cryptocurrency mining is a commodity. It's like being a wheat producer or someone that is mining for ore. Like in the long run, those people are only going to make whatever their expenses and electricity costs are, and only the very lowest cost producers are able to make money off of cryptocurrency mining.
Right.
So that means you need a lot of money. And as a scrappy entrepreneur, I do not have a lot of money.
Right, bootstrapping.
So we were building algorithms, and that's how I raised like my first seed round.
Right.
Was through this startup. But things didn't pan out. Had some disagreements with the founders. They wanted to go work in corporate. I wanted to go all in on this startup. So eventually, it led me over to CryptoSlate, one way or another.
Right. How'd you find out about CryptoSlate?
Well, I actually, when I was still in university, I ran. So I started I was the co-founder of the Blockchain Society, which is like on-campus student club. Yep.
Nice.
And we, like overnight, we became one of the biggest student clubs. Like I just started because I was really into this cryptocurrency mining thing. I wanted to teach other people. I wanted to find other people smarter than me to, I don't know, just geek out about blockchain and crypto.
Right.
And I discovered that at the same time, 2 other groups of people were trying to form a club. So I merged everybody together into one super pact.
Wow.
And then like membership just shot through the roof, and in like 1 quarter we became the biggest club on campus. I was just like, this was really not expected.
Right, and it was like a serendipitous discovery. It's like, wow, there are
lots of people are interested in this.
That are just as fanatic about this stuff as I am.
Not at all about fanatical, just curious at the very least.
Right.
And even
obsessed? Is that a
not to know about us obsessed. Like the price action was so crazy at that time, but everyone wanted to figure out what was going on.
Right.
And even though I'd only been at the space at the time for like a little over a year and a half, I still knew more than most people about crypto. In the general public, at least.
Right.
The general population. And how I eventually came upon CryptoSlate is I think it's almost 2 years ago now, maybe a little bit less than that. I had invited Nate as a speaker to one of our club events.
Right.
And I met up with him, and he's just like, yo, that was pretty cool. You should write for us. And I was just like, okay, sure.
Wow.
And I started writing stuff about mining, and I quickly became one of the top authors on CryptoSlate.
Just like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't work for CryptoSlate immediately. I worked for another startup in between.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in London, and I managed a team of software developers as a PM, and we were mostly building stuff on Hyperledger. So
wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's been a cool journey, man.
Yeah, and it's how long have you been involved with cryptocurrencies? Like overall, like 3 years?
Define involved. Like as my full-time profession, as a hobby, as a
both, like,
just aware of it.
Right.
Those are different levels.
Right. Like when did you become aware of it, and when did it? I don't want to say start to consume you, but when did it become like the the main focus in your life? I would say.
So I first became seriously aware of crypto in 2015. Like my buddies were the kind of people who use Linux and send messages to each other on encrypted servers,
right?
And use Proton Mail and
very
high schools were dark.
Nerdy.
High school was dark. Those were dark times,
right?
But they discovered this thing called Bitcoin. They discovered that you can buy stuff like pot on the Silk Road and have it sent over
or magic
pretty
mushrooms.
cheaply. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So it's just well, this is kind of useful. But at that time, we didn't see anything more than anything. Just like a toy.
Right.
We traded it between each other just for shits and giggles. It wasn't really anything that was serious. I mean, I even did my first mining stint in 2015 and
really?
I don't know, destroyed a few laptops
in
overheating them mining.
Right.
Yeah. But I was at the time, like I said, I didn't think it was gonna be some earth-shattering, society-changing. Yeah, I just thought it was something neat.
Right, a novel thing for nerds who are interested in money and
cryptography and computers.
Right,
yeah, exactly. So I didn't really think anything of it for a while, and then in 2016, 2017, either late 2016 or early 2017, my younger sister's husband was involved in the Ethereum ICO and just kept harassing me about it.
Really?
And I was just he was one of those guys. I was just don't be an idiot, man. You're already not in a financially sound spot. This is not something you need to be investing your money in.
Right.
You have to be an idiot to do this.
Right.
And I still didn't think anything of it until maybe 6 or 7 months later, when I re-examined cryptocurrency mining and I actually ran out all the numbers.
Right.
Started doing some tests, pricing out every single component of things, working out depreciation schedules. That's really what my interest is I formally studied accounting and finance.
Right. So the return on your investment, is this worth my time and my energy and my efforts, all that stuff?
Yeah, but in a precise way, not just in this abstract way. People think that if they mine coins and the coin goes up, then they made money, but that's not true.
Right.
You can still lose money relative to just directly buying a cryptocurrency, right? So that's the calculation you need to make.
Right.
I have $1,000. Is it better to buy mining equipment? And you have to factor in discounting your cash flows and what's the cost of equipment and depreciation, electricity, all those other things that people forget about. So that's why the misconception is that mining is a more cost-effective way to get crypto.
Right.
Or you can just straight up just buy it.
Just buy it, right.
Exactly.
Right.
So if it's appreciating, most people should just buy it.
Exactly. Less steps involved, and more likely than not, it's going to go down, but it's also going to go back up at some point.
Yeah, exactly. So I ran the numbers and I was just this is some 300% return on investment annually, and I was just
is this too good to be true?
Is this too good to be true? And I start mining and buying equipment. I was just no, it's not too good to be true. Let's throw all of my life savings into this and go.
Right. When it works, don't question it. Right.
I wasn't questioning it. So at the peak, my mom's apartment, I basically commandeered it, and it was just filled wall to wall with mining equipment, and it was like a sweat lodge. It was pretty much inhospitable.
Right, you needed an AC unit in there for all the computers.
No, that would increase the cost. You don't want to spend too much on cooling. That's rule number one.
At least a couple fans, maybe?
Maybe. Only if stuff, so to make sure that stuff doesn't shut down.
Right.
And it was so bad to the point where if at any point you turn on a light in the place or turn on the microwave, it would trip a breaker.
Trip everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time.
It was insane. So that definitely expedited my process out of moving into our own facility and actually setting things up in a more strategic way.
Right. And at that point you moved it to a warehouse or just a small...
to a warehouse, and then from kept moving warehouses, and eventually I found a commercial space that we could do this as a full-time endeavor.
Right. Wow. Amazing. So how did you find out about stablecoins? What interests you about stablecoins? What's the spiel?
What's your
spiel on them?
Well, stablecoins perform a useful function. Sometimes you don't want to be exposed to volatility, so you take your Bitcoin and you trade it for some tethers, and tethers tend to be less volatile than Bitcoin. Simple as that.
Right. How dare you mention them? No, that's it's very true. It's stablecoins have a very straightforward use case, which is the price stability, right?
Yeah.
Preserving your capital.
Well, I don't think that's the primary use case. If you want to preserve your capital, you would just translate it into cash.
Right.
It's more about the limited friction between preserving your capital, right? Like going from Bitcoin to cash is kind of cumbersome because there's usually lots of middlemen involved in between, and lots of excise and fees, and it's usually more regulated. Whereas going into Tether is just like a free for all, like anybody can do it.
Right. So it's a lot quicker and a lot more seamless.
Yeah. Okay. Pretty much.
Interesting. Cool. So this is not financial advice, but where do you see the price of Bitcoin being in 5 years?
In 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years.
I have no clue.
No clue? You're not a speculator?
I am a speculator, but I'm not a speculator that's good enough to predict the price of Bitcoin in 5 years.
Right. Do you think it's going to be 100K like, what's his name, Tom Lee or Novogratz says?
I have no idea, honestly.
No idea.
I think it's going to be higher than it is today.
Correct. Right.
I don't know if it's going to be 100K. I don't know if it's going to be 50K. I don't know if it's going to be 15K.
Right.
But I do know that the trend is going up, and the trend is likely to be the appreciation you're going to get from the stock market. So that's why I'm invested in Bitcoin. Is that it's not how I don't know how much the price is going to go up, but based on my experience in the space and the data that I have, and Bitcoin's historical data, and the level of adoption, and the rate at which people are desiring Bitcoin, like more and more people want Bitcoin for any number of arbitrary reasons.
Right. Whatever it may be.
Yeah. Whether it's actually for actual utility or for speculation, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the data to actually answer that question. Okay. But what I do know is that Bitcoin is probably the best investment that a retail investor has access to. And if that's the case, then you should just go all in.
Right.
Limiting for risk and other factors, right? Like if you're young like us, like you don't have a lot to lose, because putting away 10K into an investment relative to how much income earning potential you have in the future is pretty trivial,
right,
with so much potential upside, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a no-brainer that if you can manage the risk and the rest of your expenses are balanced and you don't have any large outstanding interest,
right,
that purchasing Bitcoin is a reasonable thing to do.
I agree. It's one of the best, I think, investments you can make in terms of where it's going, and like you said, all the reference points you have.
Yeah.
Awesome. What is the oddest use case you've seen for blockchain?
Oddest use case?
Yes, the oddest.
Oddest in which way? Like, it's just like I've never thought someone would do
right,
that.
Right, yeah, out of the box thinking. I mean, it could be odd in a good way or a bad way.
Okay, I think the most useless case I've seen for blockchain is that they're using it like Wormcoin to track worm farms. I was just like, what the hell?
Worm farms, is that for like people who like grow worms to like sell to fishermen, or
like grow worms to sell to like gardens and like farms,
right,
like actual farms?
A worm farm. Wow.
Yeah, I was just like, this was a
worm chain, bro.
Yeah, worm chain. I was just like, what the hell? This was during the peak of the 2017 ICO bubble, so there was many more ridiculous ideas. Like, if we're talking about like the dumbest things, like obviously there's the million Ponzi's that are so obviously Ponzi's that people fall for. I think those are pretty stupid use cases for Bitcoin. Anyone that promises you that they're going to give you 1% a month, or like make their money off of arbitrage or cloud mining or anything like that, it's probably a scam.
Right.
Because if you were able to do those things and make money from them in the first place, you wouldn't be asking for investment from retail investors.
Right, you would just go out and do it on your own.
Exactly. You just do it on your own. So those are pretty dumb use cases. Mm-hmm. And if we're talking about like a use case that I think is dumb, but it's still like around and people take it seriously, I think is like tokenizing things like art. Right. Let me tell you why.
Like behind you, like tokenizing that beautiful painting.
Yeah, because tokenizing art, I don't think it makes a lot of sense, because those markets are very illiquid. And the reason why you'd want to tokenize something is to create a liquid marketplace. And for that to happen, you need the units to be fungible. Like, you need 1 unit of art to be equivalent to another unit of art.
Right, it's like 1 unit of this Picasso is equivalent to 1 unit of this Da Vinci, whatever it is.
Exactly, and then you have to determine what is it
based on? Right.
Yeah, how are you going to determine the exchange rates for that?
Right.
And how are you going to standardize it? There's no way. So if you're tokenizing something that's super liquid, basically what you have is just a digital record keeping system. Mm-hmm. And for a digital record keeping system, you don't need something as sophisticated and complicated as a blockchain to do that. Right. You're basically just introducing more costs to tracking all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. You could very easily do this with a centralized database without a problem. And that's one of the problems that I see with people who are just like, tokenize everything, put everything on the blockchain. And
blockchain the world, man.
Exactly, but blockchain is not the solution for most problems. Another example I can give is like supply chain. Right. People think that blockchain is the answer to supply chain, but the actual problem isn't necessarily that supply chains need a blockchain because people are tampering with databases and stuff like that. Right. It's that, first off, most supply chains aren't fully digitized initially.
Right, there's manual process in between, which is humans mess things up.
Humans mess things up.
Right.
And then the second part is that in order for something to be trustworthy on the blockchain, you need to have good hardware, and that hardware needs to be able to reliably feed information to that blockchain without being tampered by humans and without relying on another human party. Because if you introduce humans to the equation again, then the blockchain is useless. Like garbage in, garbage out. Right?
Yeah.
So people keep getting this misconception that blockchain can fix a lot of things, but it really can't. People are using it as a substitute and kind of like as a straw man hype argument for digitizing things that are broken.
Right, it's a cure-all, right? It's like
exactly.
A hammer is good for certain things. It's not good for other things.
I mean, yeah, if you can use that reference, we can use that reference.
Whatever it is, a hammer, a sword, a toothbrush.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
The blockchain is great, but it's only applicable to the things that it's applicable to. You don't want to just apply it to everything just because you have it.
I mean, it's a good way to raise money, though, and I still think that's a major problem in the ecosystem right now. Is that if you attach blockchain or cryptocurrency to something, there's still a hype premium associated with it.
Right. I remember it was middle of last year, beginning of last year. It was the Long Island iced tea company. They added like Long Island blockchain.
Yep.
Like they just added blockchain.
And the stock price increased 300%.
300%. Right. It's like, wow, but their business, practice
didn't change.
Yeah, right. They didn't do any blockchain. There's no crypto. They didn't have their own coin.
Yeah.
It was just, we just added blockchain. Like, wow.
Yeah, that was the best short of my life.
Right. Oh, was it? That's interesting.
Made a bunch of money, yeah.
Oh, nice. Good to know. Well, do you have anything else? You want to, off the top of your head, that you want to, pitch to the Stately crowd in the world and about CryptoSlate and what's in the
if you want me to shill CryptoSlate, I can totally do that.
Please do.
CryptoSlate, we're the fourth largest crypto media business in the United States in terms of our web presence. And the reason for that is that we originally started CryptoSlate because we saw a big gap in the crypto news space.
The quality of it?
A lot of it has to do with quality because the conventional media news model is that you take a bunch of people, typically Indians, and you have basically this sweatshop, and you churn out it's a manual news aggregator.
You churn out terrible articles where the headlines clickbait, and then the substance in the actual article itself is like
very thin.
It's very thin. They're like the price changed by 1%. You're like, oh, cool.
Yeah. So
thanks.
I was just like, this is pretty atrocious.
Right.
But that business model works from a commodity standpoint. Like, it gets click-throughs apparently, and there's a lot of people who are quite unsophisticated where they still read that kind of stuff.
Right.
So if you're a business, that's...
Me being one of them sometimes.
If you're a business, that still might be the optimal thing to do.
Right.
But CryptoSlate, we saw a gap in the market, and we saw that people needed better analysis. They needed a news source that was reliable, a news source that was willing to disclose the conflicts of interest that they had, a news source that was run and written by people who are embedded in the cryptocurrency industry, not just journalists, but I'm talking like people who are traders, people who are accountants, people who are engineers, people who are in the cryptocurrency space and actually can articulate and have intelligent analysis about what the hell's going on and share that with people.
Right.
And that's why CryptoSlate was started initially, is that Nate and Matt, my two co-founders, and myself, we all love cryptocurrency and we were deeply embedded. Like both my co-founders they are software developers, and I came from a mining background. Like, I was doing basically business operations. And we all had some specialized expertise about blockchain and cryptocurrency, and that's how we initially started our publications. We were just writing about that expertise.
Right.
And we saw that, wow, people were blown away by news that wasn't just clickbait and news that wasn't just fluff, like marketing fluff.
Right. Just thin, just substanceless, very attention grabbing, but there's not much after that.
And that was really the beginning of CryptoSlate. So now we're at the point where because we have a more technical team, we're not just a news agency. Like, we're not just a CoinDesk. We're not just a bunch of reporters. CryptoSlate also has one of the biggest databases of people, places, companies, products, coins, all under one umbrella that people can actually browse and get intelligent insights from.
Right, the directory on your website.
Yeah, so the best way I would describe CryptoSlate is like The Economist, which is like intelligent analysis about economics, but for crypto, and Crunchbase merged into one. So if you are an investor or a researcher or someone who's just interested in crypto, like, go check us out, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
I can vouch for that. I can agree. Well, thank you so much, Mitch. Appreciate it.
I really appreciate
being
it.
Here. Yes.
Cheers.
And thank you for being here, everybody. Please go check out our Twitter at twitter.com/stablycoin. Check out our Facebook at facebook.com/stablycoin. And then our Medium blog at medium.com/stably/blog.
And check us out, CryptoSlate.com.
And CryptoSlate as well.
Woo!
Thank you. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.